Right about now. Okay, we're live. And then let me prepare recording. Okay, Eli, you will be saying opening words. Let me know when you're ready. I will start intro, music, and recording.
Cool, I'm ready.
Okay, let's go.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Non-Intuitive Bits. We're meeting here on Friday, September 9th with the usual cohort of guests. We have Nikita here, Slava, and Zane. And we're here to talk about a couple of things that have been happening, I guess, within the world.
It's actually funny because when you start talking, I realized that Google Meet recognized music as a noise and started degrading the sound. But on the recording, it was still full force. So I start degrading the music because you start speaking during the 100% of the music. But yes, I hate technology. Time to time, they're trying to be really smart. But nevertheless, I was able to fix it quick enough, so everything is fine.
So your suggestion we should talk about Stable Diffusion today?
Well, I actually have such an issue sometimes with auto noise canceling. Like Discord has a feature that does auto noise canceling, and I have my mic set up here, and on my Windows setup I usually have like a thing like an audio workstation that runs, and like it runs through a bunch of plugins, and the auto noise canceling is terrible and like makes me sound super tinny and robotic, like because the mic setup I guess is too good and it doesn't know how to recognize that type of thing. So yeah.
And then you have when like two people are talking at the same time on these calls, like you just have no idea what anyone is saying, like both voices start getting canceled out.
Yeah. And then some products, which shall remain unnamed, have a very big delay sometimes when it comes to how people speak. So there might be a moment of silence in which you feel like you can actually interject, and then everybody else feels like they can interject as well because the delay is so bad.
Or maybe you're just an AI that's trying to find an excuses why your voice is so robotic.
Oh, true. Actually true.
No.
Well, cool. One of the first topics that I did want to bring up today was surrounding iCloud. So I'll just paste the link in the chat so Slava, you can.
Thank you. It's very mindful of you. I was already prepared to start Googling. It's really nice. Thanks.
So basically the idea behind this is that Xcode Cloud is a service that Apple is offering. What it does is it gives you the ability to be able to run Xcode builds within a cloud-like environment for a certain amount of money. There's a subscription fee that goes along with it. And it's like Apple kind of heard all of the things that people who run CI have been asking for, and they said, yeah, no, we don't want to do that. We don't want to give you a machine anywhere in the cloud. We don't think that's really valuable. Here's your Xcode Cloud. What do we think about this?
So what is that? Like, is it like ability to run your builds in the background on the remote machine? Is that it?
That's basically how I interpret it. It does builds, and I think it does tests, and you can track your usage through the App Store Connect and the Apple Developer app, which I'm sure is very, very useful. But Apple, please just give us machines. Just give us a Mac Mini in the cloud we can SSH to. I think that's what most developers are really asking for.
Come on, my only question is, can I bundle it with my Apple Plus?
Yes.
If I can get a discount, then maybe it's a killer service.
And to be fair, I think there is already on the GitHub Docker container that spins up the local REST service that you can just send the GitHub URL. It will clone it in your machine and run this service to build it, test it, and then respond to you. Like, I'm pretty sure it's simple wrapper to do.
Oh my god!
Watch all of this be like running on GitHub Actions under the hood.
That would be too funny, actually. It's a workflow dispatch call to do something similar. But yeah, I mean, I feel like companies build services like this all the time that are a little bit tone deaf, where we're kind of looking at a service that is useful to a very certain group of people, but not generally useful. Like, other companies do this all the time, right? As well.
Yeah. I'm kind of like curious who their target customer is, because you need to have a project that's massive enough that it's too much to build on your own computer system, like on your own computer, but yet simple enough that you don't really need any customization on there.
It's not about that, I think. If you're developing an app for iOS and you want to make sure that it will run on like whatever iPhone 7 from iPod up to iPhone 14, and you don't want to buy 7 devices, that's a solution. I guess that's the target audience.
That makes sense.
Right? Like if I want to make sure that it looks nice on iPhone mini, like when I have a very simple templates, I can always run them in simulator, but I guess at some point I want to make sure that they actually run at reasonable speed, because that's the Apple Store requirements, right? You need to deliver a certain number of FPS and load times on all the plethora of hardware which is supported by the current iOS.
But does it do that? Does it actually do that?
I don't know, but my guess that's what it should have been doing.
If not, here's a feature request.
Yes.
Oh, folks, look. So I look in the screenshot, and the first workflow that they're showing here is pull requests. That's something. That's actually something. You see, 6 hours pull requests, a CPU that they got built. So that's promising. Xcode Cloud.
What iOS app takes 6 hours to build?
No, that's your price. Like you spent 6 hours on the pull request.
Yeah, it's your usage.
And you can connect Xcode Cloud to the GitHub. What this means, though, I don't know.
Interesting.
Yes.
Maybe this is generally useful.
Yeah, it does look like it lets you build stuff from multiple platforms. You have to kind of like dig deeper into the documents, but they do have like at least icons with all the different Apple devices on there.
Yeah, like configure requirements for merging a pull requests. It supports Bitbucket, GitLab, GitHub Enterprise, GitHub. That's quite interesting, but yes.
Interesting. Maybe this is something generally useful. Never mind. I'll retract my statement of saying that it's
Complete garbage.
Yeah, I'll just retract that statement altogether.
With all fairness, knowing how Apple building online services, your statement still can be true. that's for sure. Because I'm pretty sure, knowing Apple, there will be a button somewhere that says actually run this on the pull request that you need manually click for each pull request, and there is no way around it.
I'm sure you'll need some sort of like cert or something like that to sign it with, which makes it completely useless for things like forked pull requests.
Yep.
You're gonna have to be holding it the right way.
Yeah. Have it connected in a certain manner.
Yeah,
Okay.
but to be fair, it feels really powerful. Like I see config on the even branches that you can specify for which it will run builds, for type of the file changes, even build auto cancellation when someone pushes in the same branch, which is actually quite cool.
Interesting. But yeah, I mean, given the state of Mac OS Mac OS testing within the cloud, it is something that I feel like Apple, given the type of people that they've gotten, because basically Apple has gone through a lot of companies, ex-employees that worked on a lot of container technologies, like ex-Docker employees, ex-Google employees, and have hired them to work on their container platform internally, which makes me really wonder, like, are we going to get containers for macOS eventually? Like, that's something that I think people or developers would really, really want. Or at least for me personally, I think it would greatly benefit our workflows.
Okay, I feel like I want to go in a closet and try to find my macOS server CD that I bought in like whatever 2001 for $20. Right.
To be fair, how they using it, I wonder how they specifying environment here. So because they have the servers, this means that they're running something. I would be highly surprised if they actually giving you the full machine when they're doing a build. That doesn't mean that they have a container. So if they have it, that doesn't mean that they will give it to us. It's knowing Apple, they might already have it under the hood, but like no way they will give it out. That's for sure.
I mean, like, definitely there is a container. Every iOS app runs in a container. That's the whole point, like, of any mobile OS, right? But like, the question is how manageable this container is.
True. And is it like a container, like the way that we think about Linux containers? Is it like a similar idea? Or
It
is
uses
it...
similar technologies, right? So essentially you root somewhere and you prohibit, well, it's not, I don't think it's as much about rooting, but about creating a security policies. That you create a process that can access only certain subfolders.
So it's like kind of similar to like SE Linux, where you kind of set up the security policies within like a profile, and then it can do like certain things.
I don't know if you ever looked into how Android works, but would you consider like every Android app runs in a container?
Oh,
No.
yeah, sandbox. They're using term sandbox.
Yeah, okay. So then, yes, there are sandboxes, not the containers. So it doesn't look like a fresh install of the operating system when you can do whatever you want. It looks like constrained. But that's a good question. Containers versus sandboxes, like, what's good about them? Why containers?
Yeah, so they're using something inside. You have a build target there, like configure the build settings of a target, whatever the build target is. You can specify version of the macOS. You can specify different hardware. So they definitely should have some sort of sandbox virtualization. Who knows what? Apple, if you're listening to us, please tell us how you did it. If anyone from Apple listening to us, come and tell us how you did it.
Yeah, we would love to have you on the show. Please come and explain.
Our next guest is Tim Cook.
Awesome. Well, talking about this, does anybody else have any other comments that they want to make about Xcode Cloud before we move forward? Okay, cool. I wanted to talk about the GitHub trending page.
Okay.
What is trending with GitHub's trending?
So basically, the trending page for GitHub was this page that you could use to kind of see all of the up-and-coming projects that have recently garnered a lot of stars, or I think it was just stars, actually. So like when I was using GitHub, I want to say a couple of years ago, I would use that tab all the time to figure out new Python projects or new Go projects just in general that were popping up that needed contributors or were just starting to get popular, so that you could like make contributions to them, help kind of kickstart them. And actually that's how I found the project that I maintained for a while, Sanic, which is like a Python asynchronous HTTP framework that allowed people to create that kind of thing. And reading it, so the initial thing that came here, so this is the comment from one of the GitHub employees, but the original comment is that the trending tab is going to be deprecated because they didn't feel like anyone was using it. And I guess based off of the reactions in this thread and the response from the GitHub employee here, they're not actually going to get rid of it. So I'm kind of happy about that. But yeah.
Wait, was it leaked? Like someone incidentally texted that it will be deprecated, and then everyone reacted?
I guess so. I don't know. I guess it's maybe it showed up on the GitHub front page and most people just didn't notice it, but
I see. This reminds me another big company that almost leaked the information in public PR and had to remove that public PR as fast as possible. But we can talk about this next time.
I wouldn't know any company that would do that, you know?
Yeah. Like
Microsoft at the early days of GitHub.
Yeah, I'm among the people who like almost never look at the trending stuff. I feel like it was usually just have like very either well established or two random projects on there. But I did find one project on there once, which was like really, really cool. This was called Arnold C. And this was basically just a project where somebody had written C or rewritten C, but replaced all the operators with quotes from Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. So like ball would be I lied. Plus was replaced with get up. Minus get down.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
Return. I'll be back.
To be
These
fair,
are like
go ahead.
these are like those esoteric languages that I really like. This being a good example of one, lol code being another really good example of that one, where it's like lolcats, like hi Ken has standard IO visible hi world k thanks bye. It's just like one of those ridiculous languages that's like, it could be fun to write in. I don't know, but it's so funny that people made it actually functional.
But
Yeah, it's more fun to watch than use.
Yeah.
before we completely move out of the GitHub and that initial topics that Eli you brought it up, I wanted to kind of mention this interesting fact. GitHub, this enormous company that now belongs to Microsoft, that created this whole open source, if you want. They created the huge movement. They created the tool for that movement. They are as close source as possible. There is no any GitHub issues where GitHub is going. There is no voting for issue. It's a pragmatic closed source company that created this movement for the open source. There is something quite interesting about this that I don't like, but nevertheless, it's an interesting phenomena.
But I think it just goes to the point that making open core companies or open source companies that have like the core of their business is open source is just incredibly difficult. Like you see it with company, like you couldn't recreate Red Hat, probably the most successful open source company when you look back on all of them. You couldn't recreate GitHub or Red Hat within the timeline that GitHub came about. So like, if GitHub open source their technologies, maybe they don't survive long enough to be bought by Microsoft.
Sure, yes, I do understand there are a reason to do so, but still, it's especially this is strange when they, as a company, advocating you need to be open source. That's like so much shady. Anyway.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah, that's a pretty interesting observation there. Because like, I'm curious now, like, what do contributions to Linux look like? Everything goes through Linus, but how organized are those changes that are made? Anybody know?
Oh, to the Linux kernel?
Yeah.
I haven't contributed to the kernel, but I have viewed the email list. Maybe Nikita, maybe you have a more of an idea about Linux contributions than I do.
I haven't looked into the kernel for quite a while, so there is a Linux version 5 coming out recently, which I was completely unaware. But yes, there is like a module maintainers. That's what probably Slava is reading about. That like Linux kernel mailing list is unmanageable and unreadable. There's a subscription services to receive a digest of Linux kernel mailing list when someone like say, well, here's an interesting bit of what happened in the last week or day. I don't remember. I think LKLM frequency is like weekly. But yeah, like people send patches, but a lot of people send patches to maintainers, and maintainers approve, and then Linux creates a kernel, and then there is a Greg who actually creates the kernels that people use. Like what Linux creates, people don't really. I mean, what company usually uses Greg's kernels, not Linus's kernels.
And still by email, still submitting patches by email. That's hilarious.
One of the things that I always wondered is like, how do they test patches for Linux? Like, is there dedicated testing infrastructure? Because like on GitHub, you have pull requests, and pull requests trigger workflows. How does it work for Linux when it's like all email based?
I guess all these maintainers build them, right?
Git apply patch, make build, make test. Yes.
But there was a scandal a couple of years back, right, when a bunch of university researchers kind of circumvented the review process by submitting seemingly innocuous patches with the intent of creating a backdoor. Like through, so each one of those patches was innocuous, but in a series of like, let's do error handling there and let's do error handling there, they created like a situation when like 3 errors are handled at the same time, they actually create a backdoor. And people missed that. And
That was-
the university was banned for
Yep.
life.
Yep.
I think we banned them as well on PyTorch. Did we? I can't remember.
Yes, that's the guys.
Yeah.
But this was about they were writing a research paper about maintainer the attention that maintainers pay to specific patches, and like if the volume of patches is correlated with maintainers' review quality, like if they actually do reviews well. I don't know. I think that's what the research paper was about.
I mean,
I think it's in general about fallacies of human as reviewer, right? You cannot just like when you're reviewing a patch, you're reviewing that this particular change does not introduce any problems, right? What they showed is that if you break the change into multiple changes, where each individual change is safe and reasonable, but in coordination they cause a problem. Like usually, like when you review a patch, you look at the files changed, right? You don't look at the like where this file is called from and like well, what subroutine it calls. Like, okay, this does that, sounds reasonable, accept it, right?
so,
Or like,
so you're
okay.
saying that these researchers, they did like a whole thesis just to show that if devs get a big PR, they'll go, I guess LGTM.
Yeah. But to be fair, as long as a big brother in the very end have an explicit specific person to put in the jail, the process is working, and the human reviews are still working. But yeah, I agree. It's you can submit pretty much anything.
Yeah. I think it's just like a common thing that open source maintainers have to deal with all the time, no matter if it's the Linux kernel, even with us sometimes on open source repositories that we might maintain. Every single PR that comes through is definitely very difficult to review if you're reviewing like, let's say 10, 15, 20, maybe even 30 of them a day. And that's a tough toll to take as a maintainer, as a human being, just in general. So you know,
Yeah.
hug your closest open source maintainer. This is kind of what I'm saying.
And I'll just say this is not only for open source projects, like even like in private repositories for companies, like this is going to happen, and all the companies, as long as you've got people who might be like 50% familiar with the code base, stuff's going to fall through the cracks.
So, dear Bazel developers, there is non-zero chance that you're Bazel already mining Bitcoin, and this is the reason why it's so slow. So please do check it.
Yeah.
Bitcoins are worthless. It should have been creating NFTs now.
Oh, true. All right. So the next topic I did want to touch on, unless we want to talk a little bit more about open source maintainership or the Linux kernel, or
Yeah, let's move.
all right. So one of the things that I've been really interested in recently is how to find good product recommendations. And so a lot of times what I end up doing whenever I want to research a new topic or I want to research a new hobby and understand where to go to find useful information, I'll usually turn to a couple of resources. Like obviously I'll Google it first, but people have kind of like mined how to do SEO so well that it's not really that useful anymore. And then a couple of years ago, I guess like 5 or 6 years ago, I started using Reddit really heavily. And Reddit seems like a great, useful place of information. And I found this website, which kind of collates all of that. So like Reddit is a link aggregator, and I guess this is a Reddit aggregator. So 2 levels deep of aggregation. But yeah, I just wanted to understand, or like I wanted to bring the topic to the group to talk about like, where do we find product reviews? How do we find what we should buy? Like what is a good place to find that?
So just wanted to mention, I searched iPhone. The first result Google Pixel, the second one Samsung Galaxy, the third one Motorola Moto, then Samsung Google. Actually didn't get iPhone at all.
So search for Lenovo.
People who want to buy an iPhone don't need to look at reviews.
That's true. That's true. Yes.
basically. Actually, we're going to be talking about iPhones later, so I'm excited.
This site is like a pretty cool idea, though. Even like when I'm searching for stuff, I do find that Reddit is the place to get like the most reliable reviews because it hasn't been mined yet. The timer is running on that one, but like I'm just like Googling, hey, this product space Reddit, and see what shows up.
But speaking of fake reviews on Amazon, have you guys read a story about like a new trend on Amazon when there was a product which I don't know what it was, like razor blades, right? And then this product goes out of business and someone buys this page. And like those razor blades have a good reviews, but there's no product. Someone buys this page and starts selling umbrellas, but they keep all the old reviews because usually people just look at the stars, but do not read what's inside. And people start noticing that there are a lot of products that sell in something, but it says, like it's a great cat food or note pen or whatever, but not the thing that they're trying to buy. So that's kind of a new type of scam when you can buy like a URL on Amazon with genuine good reviews, but for a different product.
Jesus.
This is exactly why I have kind of steered away from buying unbranded anything on Amazon, because if it's not branded with like a brand that I know and I understand, it's very sketchy. Like you get into these situations where these cheap providers might make something that's bad and sell it to you at a similar price to what you might normally pay for something else, and the reviews look good because of the reason Nikita is saying, like they bought the page from somebody else. And how do you even trust it? Like where would you even go to verify that something like that is actually good?
Speaking about the product misplacement, I typed Apple Watch and it gave me Elden Ring review.
Role-playing games somehow.
With iPhone at least I have clue. Okay, this time Apple Magic. Anyway, this feels like a roulette.
I want to say me linking the website doesn't necessarily mean that it's good. I just
no, the reviews are good, the ideas are good. The search looks really weird, but everything else is quite cool.
Search in a particular category because I went to a top level and said Apple Watch, and it's city search most mentioned in the smartwatches.
You did
Samsung Galaxy Watch 4.
I see.
Yeah, so you probably limited yourself to games, and then you try to search for Apple Watch in games, and it's hard.
I know what have happened. I was pressing enter. Like their search box does not do not assume you will be pressing enter. You have to keep it like that. And then if you press see all, yes, it goes to the right. Now I see how it works. Okay.
If you go on the previous page too, the original one that I linked, the Reddit page, and you click on the different subreddits on there, it actually shows the products that those subreddits are talking about in particular.
Ooh.
So like on build on AMD/R or audiophile is like another good one if you're like looking for new audio equipment, air purifiers, I guess.
Yes.
That's quite cool.
But they don't try to replace a restaurant's review. I searched for hamburger, and the only thing I found is utilities, like kitchenware.
By the way,
for Blade hamburger turner for $7. I don't know. Sounds like this no-name product.
Ooh, even coffee is here. By the way, for things on the Amazon when they're trying to replace one product with another, there is another interesting scam which is actually beneficial for us as the customers. So there was a period of time when in the Fremont a lot of people got free toothbrushes and electric toothbrushes, which with price like from Philips, with price $100 plus. And there are periodically in the small villages in the US, you will be getting random packages on your name from the Amazon. And the people were not reporting it because it's a goods for free to them. In reality, what was happening is the small shop that need to have a good reviews, they would bootstrap the page on Amazon, then they would buy the product from themselves on your names with your addresses. The product would be delivering to your door, and they effectively now have the account with the actual buy where they can pass the reviews on their shop as a verified purchaser. Yes, this costs a lot, but this actually allows them to create tons of the verified purchases feedback, and then they can push some garbage on their stores after that, and for quite some time. And
That cycle, wow.
yeah, but like I got several goods like that from random purchases. I actually called Amazon. I said about this because I knew why this is happening, but nevertheless, I still using that toothbrush.
Yeah, I have my Philips toothbrush. It's a good one. So I bought it, not from Amazon.
I actually need to check. Maybe there is a camera there. Who knows?
There's our cameras close to the top, 5 levels down on the right hand side.
At what point does like the government step in to kind of stop this type of thing? Like, are there protections that exist for these types of things? Like, if you're advertising or like advertising a specific product and it's not necessarily representative of the product that you have, is that
kind of
something?
thing that's like state level protections? Like the national government, the federal government won't be saying anything about it. It's up to individual states to do something and then tell Amazon to back off. Though this is one of those things where Amazon probably has a stronger incentive to fix stuff than the states do, because like if we're just losing our trust in Amazon, that's going to hurt their business the most.
Yeah, I've actually found myself shopping on Amazon less recently because of all of the fake reviews, and shopping more on like specific vendor websites. So like Best Buy, or I'll shop at other places or I'll buy directly from the manufacturer because it's easy to do that now. And so, yeah, the loss in Amazon is real.
Yeah, I was just like, hold a sec while I go sell my Amazon shares.
But yes, this is true.
That's actually one of the reasons why I got the loyal customers from Costco, because they have this weird model where you pay to the shop and almost everything there is reasonable quality. Like I never had a problem when I'm buying something from there. It could be AC system, computer, anything that actually low quality is scam. Yeah, there would be only one thing, like in USSR. It's like exactly like USSR. You need AC, there is only one type, and that's it. But apart from that, the rest is fine. It's, you know, that it will be high quality.
It's only one thing, but you will like it.
Yeah.
Sounds like an advertisement for Communist Party.
Of course.
There will be enjoyment.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, should we move on to our final topic?
Yes.
All right.
Let's go.
Awesome. So I wanted to talk about, so Apple just had their iPhone event. They announced the new iPhones. They announced all of the new lineup. And included inside of this is a feature called Dynamic Island. So if you haven't used an iPhone in the past couple of years, it has a notch, if you aren't aware. And the notch has been a point of contention for a lot of different people. And Apple recently has introduced this new notch that they are using with software, or optimizing with software, to make it kind of more of a thing that people would want rather than a negative detractor. So they're integrating it with notifications, they're integrating it with different types of applications to make it so that the notch is more of a positive than a negative at this point.
But to be fair, who else? Like that's I don't know. That was my wow factor in this particular presentation. I haven't expected it. I haven't imagined that you can actually play it like that.
That is pretty cool. Just like looking at that video right now, I mean, they haven't removed from what I can tell, they haven't removed the notch, but they just like decorated it effectively, so it feels more natural.
It's because it's OLED, so this black that you see there, it's actually real black, so you will not be able to distinguish black on the pop-up, bigger black, from the notch itself. And they actually added a touch screen. So when you're typing even on the notch itself, it's not that you're typing there. So the weakest point is camera. There is no touch pixels around camera, but because fingers are generally big, your finger will press some pixels around the camera if you actually accidentally tap exactly on the camera. So it's in 99% it just works. It's magic because you now have this black thing. It doesn't matter the size of it. You can tap on any part of it. it, so notch actually active. So it's not 100% useless. It's actually have a touchscreen on top.
Interesting. And how much of the notch can be like can change colors?
Oh, it cannot. It just recognizes touches, so it's pitch black.
It's so funny that you think that the notch itself is changing colors, but it's actually the screen around the notch that's transforming to hide the notch inside of certain aspects. So like
That's what I had originally thought. Slava's statement made me think, oh, maybe it's changing colors too.
No.
Oh, that'd be amazing. But I mean, this is like one of those things, and so we kind of shit on Apple a little bit earlier in the podcast, but like talking about this is like one of their amazing things that they do, where they take something that is, the notch was unattractive. Nobody likes it. We had the MacBook that released last year with a notch, and everybody hated it at first. And now we're kind of realizing that with Apple's software integration, it's actually kind of cool. Like you can work within the constraints that you're given to make things really interesting and intuitive and impressive, really.
To be fair, that's still not enough for me to buy the thing, that for sure. But like, yes, that's quite an amazing thing. And speaking of the thing that actually would push me to buy is the new watches. That thing I was shut up and take my money moment for me, at least.
Oh wait, which one? The Ultra or the?
The Ultra, yes, because of the one additional programming button and 60 hours battery. Like these two are killer features for me.
Do you want to pull it up so we can show Zane and Nikita?
Yep. Watch Ultra. Yes, so the thing that they added there specifically, oh my god, because I haven't signed in on the Firefox, it's now showing me ads.
That's a great bet. Top of the mountain.
Yeah, so they have introduced additional programmable button on another site, which you can program and actually give different use setup and hack into its different use cases. And they have normal GPS, which is actually quite useful for me. I using watches quite actively outside of the phone, and GPS there exists, but it's horrible. And 60 hours use cases. And I actually one of the people that killed one of my old watches, just killed them by destroying the screen, either in the gym or I don't remember where. So yes. On top of that, they now have a temperature and oxygen sensor, 2 new sensors.
So an interesting question is that this Apple Watch Ultra comes with cellular, and the Apple Watch Series 8, which was also announced on the same day, cellular costs $529 on that, and this Apple Watch, which comes with it, costs $799, and you don't need to pay a cell plan. I don't think
You do.
If
$10
you
months.
yeah.
Well, I don't know if the Ultra comes with it. Does it come with it, or does it not come with it?
Let's see. I'm trying to quickly figure this out.
Usually every model have like an extra, but probably
Yeah.
60 hours for the one without a cell option.
So the Ultra doesn't have without cellular. That's why there is only one price.
I see.
While the rest has both options, plus with and without.
I mean, I think the Ultra is absolute overkill. From my point of view, this is like one of those products where it's like, it looks so cool. I kind of want it. I've heard it's big and it's beefy, so I might not get it because like, I don't know if that would fit with me personally, but it looks like a tank. It absolutely looks like a tank.
But to be fair, I using watch in many cases as a complete replacement of the phone. I approximately 4 or 5 years ago, when then they first introduced cellular watches, I bought them immediately, and I start keeping my phone in the car. in many cases. First of all, this helped me to lose tons of the horrible habits of watching or checking Twitter when I am going to the restroom. But overall, since I was able to keep answering the phone, checking messages, doing everything I need, I actually start using the watches, and it's been amazing. I have not switched my personal phone since probably around that time. So effectively, my personal phone, is still iPhone XR, which is horribly old, and the main reason because I'm switching watches, just upgrading the latest watches and using them as a phone replacement. From that pattern, that is amazing. But yes, if I still would be using mainly phone, yeah, I probably wouldn't be buying this.
I see. That makes sense. I think that makes sense. Interesting consumer patterns. Haven't necessarily thought about it myself in that view.
It is beautiful though.
Yes.
Have you guys remember what was it called? Apple Watch Series exclusive. Do you remember they had like 10,000 watches in a golden case?
Yes.
Oh yeah, that's similar to like the Hermes watch as well, right?
So Hermes was only 800, right? And the only difference was a band and exclusive wallpaper.
Yep. And the gold, there was like gold.
No, so Hermes was not golden, right? Hermes was a regular one.
Ah, Hermes, I see. Yeah, but the very first, that the I don't know what was that name of this, but yes, it used to be a gold Apple Watch when they just got introduced. I wonder who bought them. Where are these people?
I sometimes go to Opera and I've seen person with a golden watch there.
Yeah, very first. To be fair, when the first Apple Watch got released, they were completely useless. Maybe that's why one of them were gold, because otherwise there was really nothing to do with them. There was not that many difference. There was no in-watch applications. It was like weird widgets. The hardware was really weak. Anyway. Okay, so anything else to say about the Apple presentation that you folks found interesting?
I do think that the AirPods look interesting. I will probably purchase them because the new AirPods have a promise of a better battery life. Like I find myself at this point like trying to charge my AirPods every other day because of how much I use them. So the new AirPods definitely look cool. Oh, one of the things that was like one of the weirder feature announcements is that they announced better auto noise canceling or active noise canceling for the AirPods Pros. But I remember I had AirPods Pros when they first came out. And I remember the noise canceling being absolutely amazing for the first month. And all my friends were talking about it. We all purchased them at the same time. And then it seemed like it slowly started degrading. Like there was firmware update after firmware update.
So you can go and so if you see a lot of clicks during the noise cancellation, you can go to Apple Store and request a replacement. They put it in a special case when there is a like a short between like a external mic and internal speaker that causes noise degradation. So it's a manufacturing problem. You might go and say, I want you like, so maybe that will solve your problem. You go and say, like my noise cancelling doesn't work. And if it's indeed the first generation, then they will replace earbuds for you, but keep the charging case.
I'll try it out because like, I don't know. I'm very satisfied with my AirPods. And I mean, I might just get the new ones too. The new ones look really good. Like they have a lanyard thing. They can charge with the Apple Watch charger, which is like nice that they can do that. And they also have proper Find My. So like instead of it being like a tacked on feature that was like later added, you can actually use Find My to find your AirPods and like track it just like you would an AirTag or anything else like that. Which is a nice feature.
Is it for individual AirPod or for the case?
No, for the case. They now have a speaker in the case, embedded in the case.
And now each individual AirPod can play a sound as well.
Oh, yes.
So that's true, but when you lost it somewhere, playing a sound doesn't help that. At least in my case.
Sometimes it does. I've had it help in some cases. But yeah, the speaker, the case having a speaker is actually very useful.
One last thing that I want to mention that I completely forgot about the phone specifically that they announced is the SOS feature. While SOS feature is by itself it's useful, but obviously not for day-to-day use. But what was important there that they doing it through the satellites. So the Apple have deployed around 17 own satellites in the partnership with another company. So 17 is nothing. Like, it's actually didn't give you a nice cover even for US and Canada, but obviously that is a start. And this bi-directional connection between you and satellites now creates opportunity in the future for them to be internet provider. Like, imagine 5 generation of iPhone from now, you're buying that iPhone, and that's it. It have like 2 years internet plan. It doesn't matter if you have Verizon or AT&T, it comes with the internet. And I'm pretty sure some monopoly federal government institution will not allow that, because they will be a seller data provider in this case, and the hardware provider at the same time. But nevertheless, I'm pretty sure they are moving in that direction. I would not be surprised if in the 1 or 2 generations from now we will start seeing some emergency internet plans. When your AT&T is down, you can use cellular for like iMessages specifically. iMessages work everywhere. Like, that's probably going to be the next thing. I would not be surprised.
I mean, Apple's kind of moving in that direction for a lot of their different markets. Like, ads is a perfect example of an area where Apple has kind of touted privacy and has touted, like, removing the ads personalization from all other ads providers. And they said that it was in the spirit of privacy, the spirit of keeping users' data for themselves. And then 2 years later, they go, actually, no, we have our own ads network, and we're going to start serving you ads using your personalized data. Because in our default apps, it's an opt-out. And for all of the other third-party apps, it's an opt-in. So kind of like, I think there's some smart business people at work.
Yes, and lawyers. They have tons of the lawyers to know how to exactly name it. Yes.
Wouldn't doubt it.
I wouldn't measure my lawyers by weight. Yes, probably they literally have tons of lawyers.
Yeah. Well, cool. I think that's all the topics that I had wanted to talk about today. I know that Zane had to drop early, so I think in the interest of being like Zane, maybe we should, unless somebody else has any other topics.
No, I'm good for sure. Nikita, do you want to share anything?
I save it until another week.
Okay. And our usual question, Nikita, do you want to be the host for the next time and be prepared for this topic? Okay. So next week there will be actually a huge topic to discuss, but stay tuned, folks. Stay tuned.
Sounds good.
Okay. See you, everyone. 3, 2, 1. And we're done. We're still live, so just saying it, just saying that we're still live for a moment. But yes, we're done. Sweet. Yes. I don't think we have any post-show topics, but nevertheless, anyone want to discuss anything before we adjourn?
I've still been playing Death Stranding. Nikita, have you gotten to the point? And so context. Me and Nikita have both discussed Death Stranding and playing on PlayStation 5. Yep. And I just got to the point right after you get to the snowy area. Have you gotten to
the snowy area yet?
It's cool.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay.
Wait. What about Elden Ring? Have you already finished Elden Ring completely?
Oh, I beat Elden Ring like 3 times already.
Jesus.
I'm over that game. I think I have over like 250 hours of Elden Ring played or something like that. It's a great game.
Oh my god.
It's absolutely fantastic. I grinded it. So like basically with Elden Ring, I beat it, then beat it on New Game Plus, and then I beat it again using a different character. And then after that, I just played a bunch of PvP. I was super interested in PvP for a while. And then the game kind of died down a lot after that, especially on PC. Like finding invasions or finding PvP duels was not necessarily something that was easy anymore. And so, yeah, I kind of just stopped playing it.
I see. So far, I just beat my first non-skippable boss. That's
nice. Margot.
I think yes, the one that how we went before this huge castle, like on the way to the first huge castle. Yes, that's the first one. Yeah.
It's a fun game. Nikita, have you given Elden Ring a shot?
Not yet. I need to finish at least something. I started playing something called Triangle Strategy on my Switch, but then I got my PS5 and so get back to Death Stranding. But rather than replaying from like where I left, I like traveled on the ship and like went to stage where you can build roads. I started anew and then I just got to a ship last weekend and maybe I need to play again. We'll see.
Yeah, it's fun. Especially, I don't know what it is about Death Stranding, but like I love the world building portion of it. Like not the storytelling part of it, because the storytelling part of it's just bad. Like let's get that out of the way. The story of Death Stranding, absolutely terrible. Just not good.
It gets to you eventually. At least it got to me on the second run. Like, well, I wouldn't say that I'm a big fan of the storyline, but he creates a suspense, right? Like something happened, we don't know what happened, right? And you slowly kind of piece by piece, knowing his Metal Gear games, I believe he'll come up with something cohesive.
I'm about 60% of the way through the game, and I'm still a little confused. But then again, I skip a lot of the dialogue because I'm one of those players who can't be bothered to read a bunch of dialogue or like spend 5 minutes listening to somebody go, you have to deliver the package in this amount of time and this is why, and like all this other stuff. I just want to drive a motorcycle with a bunch of cargo on the back. And
interesting. I'm kind of other way around. I read the emails from guys and like reason to the backstory and whatever. So I'm kind of like all the lore that he builds around it, which is not directly in a game but kind of appears there slowly.
Yeah, it's definitely a very lore heavy game if you want it to be. Like they have the data files where you can access like specific backstory things. You have the emails where you can get a lot of context around specific characters. The memory chips is also another thing within the game that's really good. But I think what's super interesting to me is like the auto paver system and then the ability to build roads, and how all of those connect with each other and make it easier to get from one destination to another. So like you have this big giant journey to get to a specific destination, and then you build the roads and then it's like super easy.
Yep. And then something happens and like there is, what is it, void out or...
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Then it's bad. But yeah, it's an interesting game. I wonder what he's going to do next, right? Because the Death Stranding, what is that, 2019? And that's the first game that... So he was he with Sony or with Konami for a really long time? And then they went sour, and then like 19 he found his own... Well, in 17 he found his own studio. In 19 he released Death Stranding, and I wonder what's next.
I think Death Stranding too.
Interesting.
And I'm trying to figure out, it looks like Death Stranding is not available on the Xbox. And that's a bummer. Looks like. I don't know.
Oh, it might not be, actually.
Yes, it looks like it still don't. It was not, and it still don't. Because I used to be an PC4 or PlayStation 4 owner, and then I switched to Xbox Series X instead of PlayStation 5.
No, it says get it now. X PC Game Pass. I don't know what it means.
PC Game Pass. So it's on the PC, yes. On the Xbox, no.
But what does the X logo in front of PC means?
Oh, they now have an Xbox service and subscription which covers console and PC. But it doesn't mean that the game inside of that subscription will be on the both platforms. You're just paying one fee, and then you can play on PC, for example. The Xbox games,
You can kind of
join
figure
PC. Interesting.
It's actually really good. So I have both subscription services. So I have PlayStation Plus Premium, which includes like a bunch of games, including Death Stranding, by the way. And then I also have Xbox Game Pass, and they're both really good. I've tried cloud gaming on both of them. It's okay, not the best. But as far as the game selections go, I think they both have their advantages. But at this point, I think PlayStation just wins. Like the content is just better. Like the IP is just better.
A little bit. No, it's better, not drastically better, but better. But I would assume it will be changing more and more and more because Microsoft bought so many studios that I have no idea what they need to do in order to prevent this happening. But yeah, I would assume Bethesda and other games will be coming either exclusively on the Xbox or at least available under the subscription.
I don't know if buying a game studio will guarantee a good new stream of quality games, right? It's like there's something between game developers and game studios that imagine being like a game creator and at the same time employee level 25 at Microsoft. Right? Like Bungie is a great example of relationships that worked until it didn't, until it worked until it didn't, right?
Yeah, but I think it's like you have to look at it where Microsoft during the time when it acquired Bungie, it's around a similar time when they acquired Skype, right? And you look at the trajectory of both of those different business units within Microsoft, and they kind of follow a similar pattern. Microsoft tried to meddle too much, they meddled way too much, and then eventually it just fails, or it gets spun out into its own thing again. I think like Microsoft has actually been really good recently with their acquisitions of like LinkedIn and GitHub and other companies that are similar to that, in that they haven't really been as hands-on and they treat them as separate companies. So their acquisitions haven't necessarily been super hands-on.
And to be fair, they bought so many franchises and famous names with the studios that even if they're going to kill them, on average it takes 2 really horrible releases to kill franchise. So they have so many of them that it takes them years to kill all of them. But yeah, they can theoretically be very pragmatic.
We'll see.
We'll see. Yes. Anyway, folks, I think we should stop. It's already 5 o'clock. Have an amazing weekend, everyone. Let me stop the broadcast.